This is my friend Scott Crabtree, and he knows a lot about employee engagement and the science of happiness, and you should really, really listen to him. Scott.
Good morning. How engaged is this group of people? Excellent. Good. You should be. You're at a great event. Let's measure it if you're willing. I work for you this morning, not the other way around. But if you're willing, I'm encouraging you to show me and each other your typical level of engagement in a typical work day. From 1, I could not be any more disengaged. If you show me one finger, I'd really appreciate it if it's this one. Up to 10, I could not possibly be any more engaged in my job. I'm constantly giving it my all. Your average workday feels like a what? Hold them up, look around, see what each other is showing. Some very engaged people and some very honest people as well. Thank you. And let's do this if you're willing. Please show me the average engagement level of the typical person you work with during your average day. If you don't actually have colleagues, then customers, vendors, partners, what's their average engagement level? For those who couldn't hear, the comment was, what if your boss is in the room? Then you show a 10 and you whisper in my ear, 4. Looks like at least some of us have a problem. You all know how hard it is to make great games. I am so excited to be back with my game development community and see some familiar friends and faces and meet some new friends. So I am super delighted to be with you all. Thank you for this opportunity. You know how hard it is to make great games. If you've ever made one, you've suffered some at some point, right? The problem I'm here to focus on today is that disengaged employees make your hard work harder. Hard work harder. Okay, good. It wasn't the words I said, it was something else. Solid science gives us solutions. Data and experience tell us why and how to engage employees. These are some of my sources for what you will hear today, and as always, I'm trying to give you as little of my own opinion as possible and as much information grounded in solid science and data as possible. I will not be showing you much about my sources past this slide, because while I'm not here to focus on multitasking today, science says, bottom line, multitasking makes you stupid and miserable. So, I don't want to show you a lot of text on screen, ask you to read that text, and ask you to listen to me. That's asking you to multitask. That makes me a giant hypocrite. On that note, you all have this handout in front of you. I encourage you to ignore it. I know I just pointed it out to you, but it is tempting you to multitask. A few of you might learn better by writing on it as we go. If that's you, great. Knock yourself out. If it's not you, just leave it alone and know that I've taken notes for you so you don't have to. So, solid data and experience tell us why and how to engage employees. The why is really easy, because engaged employees give you their best every day, and they do so willingly, happily. For the how, I'm drawing on an odd London Tube announcement. Hands up if you've ever ridden the tube in London. Some of us, you remember this odd announcement in certain stations? Yes, somebody's mouthing it there. Mind the gap. What does mind the gap mean? In a tube station, it means don't get your leg between the train and the train station. I'm using mind the gap to organize a lot of complex information about employee engagement. Employee engagement is as complex as human brains, which have 85 billion neurons averaging several thousand connections each to other neurons in your brain, give or take, depending on how much fun you had in high school and college. So, human brains are immensely complex, therefore employee engagement is immensely complex. I cannot cover everything in the 3-hour version of this workshop. I have 1 hour today. So get ready, here we go fast. I will not cover everything, but Mind the Gap covers a lot of what you need to do to engage employees. So GAP is an acronym I'm using twice. First time to stand for goals, alignment, and progress. Second time for growth, appreciation, and people. And I will explain what I mean by those in detail as we go through them. What exactly are we talking about is a good question now, because everybody seems to have a different definition of employee engagement. I really like this one. Engagement is an emotional commitment to your work that results in increased effort, performance, and quality of work life. It is an awesome win-win-win. The data suggests that employee engagement is a triple win in the sense that it benefits your studio or whatever organization you work in, your stakeholders, your customers, and your employees. That's part of why I love teaching about employee engagement, because this is not how to extract more work from your employees in a way that grinds them into nothing and then you can discard them and get more employees. This improves employee lives. I don't want to be inappropriate with people, but just as an indication of how this can improve the situation for everybody, those who are more engaged at work, the data suggests, have better sex lives at home. So this is not just about work. That's the last thing I'm going to mention about life outside of work. And we should all have, no, never mind. If you just look at the business factors, there are compelling numbers here about employee engagement. Now, I want to be really blunt. Anytime you get data from an organization that sells you services around the data they're showing, you can be a little skeptical about that data. So this is just such a case. This is data from the Hay Group, who would love to charge you lots of money to help you with employee engagement. So I'm fine if you're a little bit skeptical about these numbers. Even if you cut these numbers in half, there are huge benefits to be gained through employee engagement. According to the Hay Group, employee performance goes up 40%, highly engaged compared to disengaged. Customer satisfaction rates up 18%, 4.5 times the financial result, and a significant decrease in employee turnover. Do you know how expensive employee turnover is for you? Anybody know an actual number for you? A lot of HR professionals estimate it's about 1.5 times annual salary. Even if we were just reducing turnover, that's a compelling benefit. Huge benefits for your organization, all the people your organization work with, and the employees that you're trying to engage. I would like to get a quick gauge of who's here. Please, if you're willing, again, I work for you, but if you're willing, on your feet, please, if you officially manage other people. If you have people reporting to you, anybody seen me present before and have any idea why I'm asking you to stand up and not just raise your hands? Please. To keep you engaged, get your blood moving, and I'm connecting to science in a way that's a little bit speculative here, but solid science suggests bodies in motion have brains that learn better. When you're physically active, your brain produces more of what's called BDNF, which you can think of as a learning aid. So thank you, official managers. Wait, please stay standing if you manage 3 or more people, 5 or more people, and if you manage managers, let's count everyone down your organization, more than 25. That was big, more than 50, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, okay. Excellent. And please stand up if you do not officially manage other people. I was watching all of you. I know the other half that should be standing up. Why am I asking you to stand up? First of all, because I want you to learn every bit as much as the official leaders, and also because I want to tell this group of people in particular that a recent SHRM survey, Society for Human Resource Management, surveyed thousands of people and asked them to identify a leader in their organization. And 85% of those identified were not officially managing other people. So all of you standing up are leaders as well. Thank you. You can all sit down. So tremendous benefits we get from engaging employees and engaging ourselves. What's the problem? The problem is that if your organization is typical, and I'm not sure there is such thing as a typical organization, but according to Gallup, if your organization is typical, only 3 in 10 employees are really fully engaged. 2 out of 10 employees are actively disengaged. These people are essentially working against you on your payroll. And as bad as that sounds, perhaps even more insidious to me is the fully 50% of people who are essentially going through the motions. Sure, they want to do a good job, but they're not going to give you any extra effort, any heart behind what they're doing. So what do we do about that? Well, I'm here to share a lot of information with you, but I want you all to share some information with each other and with me. We have a room full of very smart, creative people. I want you now to talk to each other for the next 3 minutes, please, discussing a time when you were highly engaged at work. Ideally recently and in game development, but go back as far as you need to in time, and if necessary, I hope it's not necessary, but if necessary, go outside of work to your ultimate Frisbee team or whatever else really engages you. In 2s or 3s, please, for the next 3 minutes, when were you going the extra mile? Why were you giving your all? How do you engage others? Discuss, please. Thank you for being so engaged with each other. Thanks for being so engaged with each other, and thanks for coming back to me. Before we go on, I hope you'll forgive me taking a slight detour. Despite my very brief warning about multitasking, I'm still seeing a lot of laptops open, a lot of people with phones in their hands. And to be blunt, I saw this yesterday during Christina's amazing keynote. And I figure if you're going to multitask through an amazing talk from a woman who's won 2 Oscars, you're certainly going to multitask through mine, and I would prefer that you not. I work for you. But to try to convince you, here's a quick exercise. When I say go in a moment, I want you please to silently, that's inside your own head, say the alphabet as fast as you can, count from 1 to 26 as fast as you can, and then stand up when you're done. Anybody not clear what I'm asking you to do? Alphabet 1 to 26, stand up silently. On your mark, get set, go. Don't worry if you're still working your way to your feet. You have better internal enunciation than your peers here. Thank you. You can sit down. Now I want you to do exactly the same thing, silently as fast as you can. This time alternate. A1, B2, C3. On your mark. Get set. Go. Okay, I've only got about 45 minutes left, so let me stop you there. That is why I encourage you to minimize your multitasking during this and other talks at this awesome event. So, you all just talked with each other about employee engagement and what makes it happen. Here's what I'd like to do if you're willing. I'm going to take my arm and start here, and I'm going to sweep it across the room. And when you feel that I'm pointing directly at you, I want you to shout out a few words that indicate what helps with employee engagement. Some of you may talk at the same time, so the weirder and more distinctive your voice could be, the better. So things like alignment, communication would be great. Ready? Here we go. What helps with employee engagement? Could you hear them in the back? No, you have to shout at the top of your lungs. Here we go. Gamification. And the winner is pizza. No. That was a bunch of good words. I heard at least 70% of them. Thank you all for participating so much. And yes, you're on to a bunch of the things that help. To explain why some of those things you said work and hopefully add some more to it, we're going to mine the gaps. This is about engaging your employees by working together to mine the gaps. That word together is very important. One of my favorite jokes, how many psychologists does it take to change a light bulb? 1, but the light bulb has to want to change. Oh, come on. So, similar joke here. How many managers does it take to engage an employee? One, but the employee has to want to be engaged. If you are sitting around waiting for your leader to come around and work some magic to make you care about your work, stop waiting. You're in this with your manager. You need to get your employees to buy into the engagement process in order to engage them. If you work together to mind the gaps, then you're really getting somewhere. Goals, alignment, progress, growth, appreciation, people. Starting with goals. Why do I want you to set clear expectations? Because over 200 studies show that challenging employees to meet goals motivates higher performance. So I frankly hope all of you are sitting there going, well, duh, Crabtree, of course we need goals. But let's see how well we're actually acting on what we know. On your feet, please, if you're willing and able and you have goals at work. On your feet if you have goals at work. Those of you still sitting down, I encourage you to consider taking some goals. Excellent. Now, please stay standing if those goals are written down. All your goals are written down. Few honest people sit down. I'm not trying to tease you people, but there are those who say that goals aren't written down are more like thoughts than goals. So good, all of you standing, your goals are still written down. Now, stay standing if you would describe those goals as SMART. Everybody know this acronym? It's a common acronym out there: specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound, or some variation thereof. If your goals are good, SMART goals, stay standing. Some more honest people sit down, thank you, or tired of standing, not sure which. I'm gonna go with honest. And the rest of you, please stay standing if your goals are specifically written about education. Something in there says, learn as much as we can, grow by. Thank you. We're going beyond SMART now. And then the rest of you, stay standing if your goal is significant to you somehow. You care personally about its outcome. You see some connection between the work you're doing and meaning in the world. Stay standing. Excellent. And the few of you left, stay standing if your goal only describes what you want and does not describe what you don't want. If it's just describing the ideal future you want, stay standing. And a couple more honest people sit down. Thank you, you can all sit down. Great for the few of you left standing. Because so few of us were left standing, I have developed the following acronym to help us create really good, engaging goals. Beyond SMART, I want you to make goals that are SMART-est. Specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time-bound, also educational. Why educational? Because of what Carol Dweck at Stanford calls a growth mindset. If you have a growth mindset, you are about learning and growth and development. And if you take goals that say, learn as much as we can about optimizing the animation pipeline by blah, 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 then when a setback comes, and setbacks always come, or often come, right? When a setback comes, if your goal is about learning, then when a setback comes, you can learn even more. If your goal is about proving your talent or smarts to other people, when a setback comes, it's disengaging. Oh, screw it, I'm not going to hit this goal. So educational to nurture that growth mindset so that you are more resilient to setbacks. Significant because it's got to matter to you. And most organizations that I've worked in, game development studios, as well as big corporations like Intel, we're very good at getting specific and measurable and all that stuff, but we forget about what is, to me, the most important part of a goal. Why do you care? Get that in the goal too. Make a kick-ass game as measured by, or improve the industry as measured by, or whatever it is. Add the juice, add the caring to really get an engaging goal. And finally, research suggests we should make goals that are about what we want, not what we don't want. So if you make a goal that says, ship a game that doesn't suck by making sure we have less than 30 bugs, you're talking about things you don't want. You want to write a goal that says, ship an awesome high-quality game that earns a 90 or above on Metacritic. Toward, SMART-est. If you make goals that are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time-bound, educational, significant, and toward what you want, then you're off to a great start for employee engagement. That's goals. Alignment. Let me warn you, there is a lot in alignment, and as I already told you, we're going fast, so here comes a lot of information in alignment. I want you to align on what you're doing and why. As John Baldoni, author of Lead with Purpose, says, when employees know the purpose of their organization, they know how their jobs contribute to its success. Stand up, please, if you have seen the excellent TEDx talk by Simon Sinek. On your feet, please. Thank you. It's awesome, isn't it? Thank you. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. And I believe there's a link. Yes, there's a description of this talk in your handout. Thank you. Those who haven't seen Simon Sinek's TED Talk, on your feet if you're willing, just so that you stay awake, engaged, and learn more about how to engage others. Thank you. What he describes is science behind the power of why. That if you know why each other chose to make games instead of being a barista or a stock trader, it's engaging. It pulls you forward in the work you're doing. So I encourage you to share your whys with your team. Why are you in games? Why do you care? Why'd you pick this company? Why this genre? Why this game? Answers to the question why. Sharing what you believe is very engaging to others. So I encourage you to share your whys with each other. Ask your employees who report to you perhaps, or you work with, why are they there? Powerful conversations that earn engagement. I want you to align on what you're doing and why. I want you all to align to earn trust. Several of you mentioned this when I asked you about your conversations, what leads to good engagement, and rightly so. As Dale Carnegie's group says, 7 out of 10 employees who lack confidence in the abilities of senior leadership are not fully engaged. So it starts with trust in the official sense. Those superiors, upper-level management in the company, do I trust they know what they're doing? Are they leading us in a good direction? That trust is really important. But in my mind, even more important is personal level trust. So I want to show you what is called a Pecha presentation, because it is the best teamwork and trust building tool I have ever seen in my career. I was working at Intel, my boss reorganized, I got some new peers, fellow leaders with strong personalities. We did not trust each other, and it was not pretty. I want to be clear and honest. So I went to my boss, I said, hey, I bet you've noticed some of the tension on the team lately. And he said, oh yeah, what do you want to do about it? So we talked about team building, and together we arrived at Pecha. Anyone ever seen a Pecha presentation before? Awesome, some of us. The funny name, we called them Pikachu presentations, comes from Japan. This started in Japan in the architecture and design community. It's simply a presentation format, pictures on slides that are on auto advance. In typical Intel fashion, we adopted this format, cut the number of slides and the duration per slide in half, left us with 10 slides, 10 seconds each, and we made a rule for our team building that you could not show anything about your career. Had to be about you outside of work. So my peers and my boss and I created these, presented these to each other. Mine went very roughly like this. I was born and raised in Massachusetts, born in Western Mass, raised mostly around the town of Andover, north of Boston. Red Sox infection comes in the hospital in Massachusetts. Let me remind you, multiple World Series championships despite the current year's standings. I was specifically raised on the campus of this fancy pants boarding school where my father, a PhD, taught math for 30 years. I grew up on campus, learned many things, one of which was some people seem to have a lot more money than we do. I went from there to Vassar College. This is where I got a degree in cognitive science and really became enthralled with minds and what makes them tick and not tick so well. In case you're wondering, Vassar turned co-ed in 1969. I moved from upstate New York to my beloved home state of Oregon, just south of here. This is my wife and I walking along on the Oregon coast. This is my father holding my first daughter, Althea, shortly after she was born about 7 years ago. My wife likes to crack the joke that new babies and old men look alike, so we've always found this a picture amusing in that way. Here's the rest of some of my family from left to right. That goes sister, brother, mother, niece, nephew, brother, daughter, sister-in-law, and wife. I love music. Do we have any musicians here? Awesome. I play lots of instruments, been in multiple bands, made multiple CDs, got a royalty check from BMI in the past year in the mail. Super exciting moment, career highlight for me, even though with that royalty check, I could buy any two of you a soda. Still, it was exciting for me. I also love nature and backpacking. This is Jefferson Park in Oregon, maybe the most beautiful place I have ever been. We get really terrible family shots, even hiring a professional photographer. I have like 15 chins there. Althea, grown up now, is like, I'm smiling as hard as I can. Is it working? And Zinnia, my youngest, looks a little bit like, please don't squeeze me to death, Daddy. So we created and presented these to each other, and the trust went up enormously immediately. And we still had issues to work through, but we did it better because we trusted each other more. We were more engaged with each other and the work we were doing because we felt better connected as human beings to each other. Pecha presentations are a fantastic way to get people to know each other faster and trust each other more. And trust is key to alignment. So I want you to align to earn trust and consider using Pecha presentations to build that human level of trust with each other. I am not here to tell you what your values should be, but I am here to share data that key to engagement is feeling like people around you are committed to high quality. Anyone worked where people around them were not committed to high quality? Disengaging, right? It's like, well, why should I try to fix all these bugs when Bozo over here is checking out at 2:30 and not coming back and he doesn't care about bugs or quality. It's not engaging. It is engaging when people around you are doing great work. You feel compelled to do great work with them. According to Gallup, a major force in employee engagement and lots of data behind employee engagement says at a bank, I know you're game developers, not bankers, but at a bank, variation in team commitment to quality accounted for a 14% difference in profitability from branch to branch. 14% difference in profitability just from commitment to quality, or so this data suggests. So align on quality, measure quality, reward quality, etc. So align on what you do and why, align to earn trust, align on quality, and finally in alignment, I want you to align work to use people's strengths. Please stand up if you have ever taken StrengthsFinder or any other strengths assessment. Those of you standing up have taken StrengthsFinder. Now, those of you who've taken it, let's show the rest of the audience. One is it was horribly inaccurate for me. And since I only have one hand with this mic in my hand, 5 is it was extremely accurate for me. Show each other if you're willing. 1, 2, 3, throw. Look around, people. There's a lot of assessment fatigue out there in the world, but this assessment is grounded in great data and does really well. It's what I have found in team after team. Thank you. You can sit down. If you're willing, please stand up if you've never taken StrengthsFinder or any other strengths assessment, because it's especially important that you're engaged in learning this part. Thank you. You can sit down. The strengths movement subverts the dominant paradigm, as the bumper sticker puts it. The dominant paradigm, what over half of us believe according to surveys, is the key to success is finding and fixing each other's weaknesses and our own weaknesses. And the strengths movement asserts the opposite. If you really want happy, engaged employees who do their best and perform well for you all the time, then figure out what they're good at and get them doing more of that. I like to put strengths in terms of Michael Jordan. For those who aren't sports fans, Michael Jordan is maybe the world's best basketball player ever, with the possible exceptions of Larry Bird and Bill Russell, because I'm from Massachusetts. Michael Jordan works in your game studio. What kind of review do you give him? As a reminder, or for those who aren't sports fans, Michael Jordan was a fantastic basketball player. He also took some time in the middle of his career and played baseball. And by your and my standards, a very good baseball player. By professional standards, a very mediocre minor leaguer. So how do you write his performance review? I know how this would have gone at a lot of the video game companies where I have worked. Something like this. Accomplishments, multiple NBA championships, MVP titles, phenomenal accomplishments. Strengths, ball handling, team leadership, shooting ability, off-the-chart strengths. Development areas, you're really struggling with curveballs and other off-speed pitches and need a lot more time in the batting cage. Overall performance summary, please focus most of your time and energy on improving your baseball skills over the next year. Which I hope is laughably ridiculous, but we do it to each other all the time, right? Anne isn't good at public speaking. Let's have Anne do the public Q&A session next week. What? You just said she's not good at it. She's going to hate it, right? Kevin isn't good at risk management. Let's have Kevin create and maintain the top 10 risks list for the game development project. What? Anne loves doing that. Kevin loves public speaking. Get people doing what they do best and energizes them. And according to Gallup, when you compare teams that give very high marks for I get to do what I do best each day, compared to teams that give low marks for that, you get a 38% increase in productivity just from getting people to use their strengths. So I want you to align work to people's strengths, get people doing more of what they do best more often. That's alignment. Again, I have a lot in alignment, so let me remind you. In the first gap, goals, alignment, and progress, alignment contains communicating about what you do and critically why you do it. Aligning to earn trust at that professional level and that personal heart level. Aligning on quality and aligning work to use people's strengths. Finally, in the first gap, progress. The scientific data is clear, progress drives engagement. Again, I hope to a certain extent you're sitting there going, well, duh, Crabtree, everybody knows this. So why am I telling you? Well, a couple of reasons. One is that you may be experiencing what scientists call the hindsight effect, which is as soon as you hear something that sounds plausible to you, your brain says, oh, I knew that, whether you actually knew that or not. So you may not have actually known, but I'm being sure to call it out because when Harvard researchers asked a lot of business leaders like you what engages and motivates employees, nobody mentioned progress. So Teresa Amabile and her colleagues at Harvard said, oh, well, maybe it's like oxygen and pay, like it's so obvious that you don't mention it. So let's put it on a multiple choice list with some of the things people are mentioning. And wise business leaders like you ranked progress last on the list. But from 12,000 daily work journal entries, she and her team found that progress towards clear and meaningful goals was the single most powerful factor on employee engagement and happiness at work, which she and her team call quality inner work life. So progress matters, and perhaps matters most. So, non-rhetorical question for this wise group of people: what do you do to get progress and encourage progress? Communication. No, gamification. Excellent, yes. Yes, in fact, when I present this workshop to non-gaming audiences, I talk about games. I say, how many games have you ever, first of all, I ask them who plays games. About 20% of hands go up, and then I say, let me try again. If you've ever played Candy Crush, Solitaire, or any other interactive game on an electronic device, you're a gamer who games, and then all the hands go up. Then I say, how many games have you played where you start and end, and there's no bonuses, levels, or anything else in between? Very few, if any, and that's because you people know how to engage people in games, and gamification is a great way of doing it. So yes, what else do you do to make progress possible and encourage it?
Breaking down tasks into smaller parts.
Absolutely, breaking down tasks into smaller parts. If you want to measure progress, then don't make goals that say, ship an awesome, successful AAA game by Thanksgiving that earns. It's right as by September 1st, we need to be at alpha. By September 15th, we need to have this done. But lots of milestones facilitates the emphasis on progress. Good, what else? Scrum, sprint reviews, yeah, talking about progress, celebrating progress. Excellent, what else? Remove barriers, excellent. I know you all know this, it's so obvious, but I have to show you because occasionally we make goals for people but don't give them what they need to get the work done. I know resources are scarce almost everywhere. What I encourage you to avoid is what at Intel we called peanut buttering. Peanut buttering is, we don't have enough resources for everybody, so we're going to take the resources we have and spread them really thin across all the teams so that nobody has enough resources to make the progress they really want to keep them engaged. So yes, give them enough resources. And as you wisely said, remove roadblocks. A key part of what leaders do is find where and how people are stuck in those Scrum reviews or sprint reviews or any other place and remove those roadblocks. What else? Talk about and celebrate progress, high-five progress, and one of my personal favorites, visualize progress. Get it up on the walls. I am privileged to work with a major animated motion picture company. When I go and teach classes like this at that major animated motion picture company, the classroom where I teach is down a long hallway next to a bunch of cubes where people like you are creating special effects. And what's up on the wall as you walk through this room are what look like children's coloring book pages, that is, thick black outline drawings. Those drawings represent scenes in the movie, and those pictures are colored in for the percentage complete the effects are for that scene. So as you walk down the hallway at this movie company, it's 100% colored in, 50% colored in, 75% colored in, 100%, 80%, 30%, 10%. You can't go to the bathroom at this movie company without getting a palpable sense of the progress the team is making. How can you visualize your progress? Get it up on the walls, up on monitors, because progress fuels engagement. That's the first gap, goals, alignment, and progress. Now I'm going to do something highly unusual for a speaker, which is say nothing for the next minute or so. I want you all, please, to say nothing for the next minute or so, because I want you to test yourself. Why do I want you to test yourself? Because although testing often gets a bad rap, all they do is test our kids in school, the science is clear that for at least some kinds of learning, testing causes learning. When you think, what did you just say? What was the first gap and what was in alignment again? That little self-test signals your brain that information is going to get used and therefore needs to get converted from working memory over to long-term memory. So please do not cheat and look at the handout. If you're taking notes, don't look at them. The whole point is to test yourself. This is a casual self-test. No testing anxiety needed. For the next minute of silence, please, what have you heard? And more important, how will you apply this to the work you're doing? Thank you all for being so cooperative. Questions before we move on? What was that alignment thing about? I am asking you to hold on to a lot in alignment. Alignment is aligning on what you do and why, aligning to earn trust at a professional and a personal level, aligning on quality, and aligning work to use people's strengths. Yes, sir, with your hand up. So for the sake of the recording and those who couldn't hear, I think the question was, aligning on quality is difficult in the gaming industry. Are there tools to help with that? I'm going to do this. I bet at least a handful of people in this room would love to give you a super detailed answer to that question that I don't have time for. Hands up if you work in QA and know about tools that help boost quality in game development. QA stands for quality assurance. So I'm assuming that if you do it well, those people are helping with game quality. So look around at the people with hands up. Anyone want to answer this question in 15 seconds or less right now? All right, then afterwards. Second question, okay. For those who couldn't hear, I'm pretty sure the question was, how'd you get so awesome? Can I give you $1,000? Is that the question? Yeah, I'll take it right after no. The question really was, Pechacuchas, we have a rapidly growing team. How many people can you do this with? I would suggest no more than 10 at a time. They're under 2 minutes each, so that's only 20 minutes. But if you get into minute 17, 18, 19 of Pechacuchas, even though they're fast, you're like, whatever, more dogs, I don't care. So I would do them a few at a time. When you do them a few at a time, you really learn things about people that are like, wow, you're a musician? I never knew that. We've been working together for 1.5 years. What music do you play? You're in a band? I'm in a band too. Awesome. And then you go to beers together, and then you're really building trust between each other. So I'd suggest no more than 10 at a time, break them up, and focus on the teams that work most closely together most often, and then build some bridges, if you have any silos, by getting leads to do it, or supervisors, producers, whatever it is. Does that help? Excellent. Goals, alignment, and progress. If you take care of those 3 things, you're well on the way to earning employee engagement. But there is more that I suggest, and the data suggests you do. Second gap, growth, appreciation, and people. Mind this gap as well to earn employee engagement. Growth. Why growth? Because consistently in the data, career opportunities are a top engagement driver, according to Aon Hewitt and many others. The trick here is that not everyone wants to learn and grow the same way. So I want you to help each employee you work with learn and grow in the way that they want to learn and grow. Science has uncovered an amazing technique for learning how your people want to learn and grow. Can anyone tell me what it is? Ask them. Yes. But too often we sit in our office going, oh, boy, Juan is really disengaged. I think he wants to learn and grow. I'll buy him a book. Yeah, that's what I'll do. I'll buy him a book. Oh, that just didn't work. I'll ask people what matters to them. And some of your people are going to say, I want to be able to buy books on the company dime about game development or business or being a producer. Awesome. And some of your people are going to say, I want to go to fantastic IGDA events like this. And some people are going to want to do something different, cover somebody's maternity leave. Everybody learns and grows in a different way. Ask them. One really great way of asking people and yourself how you want to learn and grow is to write down your best possible career future for, let's say, 3 years from now at work. If you take a few minutes and write down your best possible career future, according to solid peer-reviewed science, that nurtures your optimism, which nurtures excellent brain function and makes that best possible future more likely to come true. Optimism nurtures happiness, nurtures improved brain function. So just the optimism boost, and therefore the mood boost, is a good reason to do this. But if you do this as well, you get a roadmap or a treasure map to how people want to learn and grow. And you're in a better position to engage them by giving them that learning and growth. That is growth appreciation. Again, may feel obvious, but specific gratitude is so powerful. 78% of US workers said being recognized motivates them in their job, according to Global Force, and a similarly high percentage of people say they do not get enough appreciation at work. If you want to get more appreciation at work, give more appreciation at work. Now, how you give this appreciation and gratitude matters. Because I suspect that many of you have been sitting in a room, as I have, where a leader comes in and says something like, great work, everyone, thanks. And you think, you don't actually know me or what my job is, so that praise doesn't mean much to me. But if you get really specific, then you're getting somewhere. There's a recipe that I like a lot. What is the specific behavior you are grateful for? What are the primary feelings? And what's the business impact? So there's an example here, but I have a better real-life example for Tristan, who's in the back of the room. Tristan, I am so grateful for how quickly and effectively and accurately you answered my many questions leading up to this event. It helped me calm down and focus so that I could feel better, but also put much more of my energy into actually preparing the talk instead of worrying about logistics and timing and handouts. So Tristan, thank you. You made a difference in how I felt and my ability to do a good job here today. Thank you. When you get really specific recognition from somebody with specific behavior, feelings, and business impact, then you know you're really appreciated. And appreciation is excellent for engagement. Not just appreciation of people's work, but appreciation of people's ideas. I want you to solicit and respond to input and earn engagement and innovation. And I want you to solicit and respond to input from who? Everybody, right? Christina's fabulous keynote yesterday was all about inclusivity. You don't have to act on every idea you hear from everyone. Let's face it, we all have some really mediocre ideas from time to time. Ooh, marshmallow shooter, that would be really fun. Let's not spend $500,000 making that game, actually. Although maybe it's fun. Maybe one of you has made a marshmallow shooter. What do I know? You don't have to act on every idea you hear, but according to Gallup and others, feeling like your opinions count at work, why is that your suggestion? Tell me about this. I'm seeing some risks here. Do you see a way of getting around that? Really engaging people in conversation earns engagement. According to Gallup, 59% of engaged employees, but only 3% of disengaged employees say their job brings out their most creative ideas. If you're failing to engage your people, they may take their great ideas elsewhere. By asking them about their ideas, working through their ideas with them, you get engagement and innovation at the same time. That's growth and appreciation. Last, and certainly not least, is people. In fact, treating each other as whole human beings may be the single most important thing you can do to earn employee engagement. We so wish that we would not be complete human beings when we come into work, right? Our colleagues come in and they bring their alcoholic uncles and their mom who's dying of breast cancer and all kinds of horrible, distracting stuff in people's lives, sick kids and diseases and horrible things. And I'm not trying to bum you all out, but let's face it, a lot of the time we wish that we would just leave all that outside. Just when you come into the studio, you're just a programmer. But the reality is we are whole human beings and we bring our hearts and our minds with us everywhere we go. And when you demonstrate actual human caring for other people you work with, you earn employee engagement. According to Gallup, turnover, that expensive turnover we talked about, is 22 to 37% lower when employees feel someone cares about them as a human being. Again, those Pechakucha presentations are a great way to start caring about people as a human being if you don't know them well. I spent over 6 years at Intel. Intel's an extremely results-oriented company. I got so results-oriented that before I got into the science of happiness, I had some one-on-one meetings where there was zero human connection. All right, one-on-one, what's on your agenda? Yep, that. Now let's put this first. Okay, what about this one? Yeah, and what can we do about, all right, and you got to get some help from them. Right, what's next? Not a moment of how are you? What's going on? How's your weekend? I used to think that was a waste of time. I now understand it is far from a waste of time. It boosts the bottom line. Asking people about their lives, respecting their whole lives and everything in them, earns trust and earns engagement. I have been over a lot of information about engagement. You may not be sure where to start. I'm giving you a little mnemonic device to help you know where to start. If you aren't sure where to start, think, what do I do about employee engagement? Human managers matter most. The single most important person to your engagement, if you have a boss, is your boss or your manager. If you want to engage somebody else, if that person reports to you, you are the most important person in their engagement. According to Dale Carnegie's group, again, 4 out of 5 people dissatisfied with their manager were disengaged. According to Roger Herman, 3 out of 4 people voluntarily leaving a job, they don't quit their jobs, they quit a boss. Anyone ever quit a boss? Look at all of us who have quit bosses. Don't be that boss somebody quits on. Be the boss that people want to work hard for happily because you're engaging them. You care about them as human beings. You care about their growth. You appreciate them, their work, and their ideas in specific ways. You work together with that employee to mind the gaps. Goals, alignment, progress, growth, appreciation, and people. Again, if you're willing, a minute of silence, please. What have you heard? And the most important question of all, what will you do differently as a result of something you were reminded of or learned here today? Minute of silence, what are you going to do? Thank you again. Questions or comments? Please, loud and proud, sir.
Can you go over how progress and growth are distinct and modeled together in that lens?
How progress and growth are distinct. Yes, excellent question. Progress is essentially progress on the work. So our goal is to ship this adventure game with these features by Thanksgiving. Where are we making progress in that goal? And growth is more about you as a human being. I suppose I point here as well, but especially up here. How are you as a producer getting better at interpersonal skills, getting better at engaging people? Where do you want to learn and grow? Are you a programmer? Do you really want to get into AI and neural networks? Is that the growth you want to do? It's about you as an individual as opposed to the progress on the project. Does that help distinguish the two? Excellent. Back here, loud and proud, please. I think that's brilliant, and I'm going to try to remember it as I say it to everyone else so that they can share in your wisdom. Reading John Kotter and other research on the difference between management and leadership, you are wisely suggesting goals, alignment, and progress is more about management, and growth, appreciation, and people is more about leadership. I'm going to be honest and transparent with you. I've never thought of it that way, and I think that's right on and brilliant. So thank you for sharing. You have a talk at 3:15. You know, it's inappropriate to plug your talk in another talk. By the way, my session coming up right after this is we're going to play a card game right across the hall. Hope you'll all come to my session. No, I'm kidding. And yours, I'm not kidding. I do have a session, but yes, you should go to her session at 3:15 too. She knows what she's talking about. Other questions or comments? In the back, please. For those who couldn't hear the question, although I bet you all could because I'm the furthest in the room, but for the recording perhaps, what do you do about somebody who just consistently has a negative attitude? I think it's Gallup that coined a term for those people, cavers, consistently against virtually everything. I have a really long answer to that, which is this workshop in 3 hours, plus some science of happiness, plus some coaching, etc. In other words, it's a lot of work to turn somebody like that around. It is possible. I think these steps are good first steps to trying to turn somebody around. If you put work and work and work and work into it and you're not getting any movement, then I suggest you're not working together to mind the gaps. You're working in a unilateral assault on employee engagement, and the person is not wanting to be engaged at all. And if you try everything and there's no movement there, I would consider letting that person go. Turnover is expensive, but some people just are not in the right job. They shouldn't be making games. So it's not a very PC answer, but really if you try and just somebody's like, no, you stupid guy, bullshit, I don't want your guy, yeah, I'm measuring goals, spare me the, let them go. They're not happy, they're never gonna be happy. If you're trying that hard and not getting anywhere, they're gonna be happier and more engaged somewhere else, I believe. Yes, sir.
Curious your opinion on mindfulness. I went through a mindfulness course that I thought was really life-changing in different ways. And it seems very much the more mindful people are, the more receptive they're going to be to all of it.
So if you couldn't hear it, what about mindfulness? He went to a life-changing mindfulness course. People who are more mindful are more receptive and effective at all of this. Hear, hear. Love mindfulness. I swear I am just scratching the surface when I tell you that solid peer-reviewed research has discovered the following benefits of mindfulness. Reduced stress, better coping skills, better physical health, better mental health, more self-awareness, better relationships, more happiness. Just scratching the surface of what mindfulness can do for you. This is not a session on mindfulness. I'm almost out of time, but I highly recommend checking out mindfulness. If you've never done it before and you're not sure where to start, some good YouTube videos out there, and Headspace is an app that seems to be pretty well done and helps people learn mindfulness. So well done on the mindfulness tip. I wish I could have more time for questions, but I believe I have to wrap up and get out of here. So let me wrap up with my final question for you. How will you apply what you have learned? If you don't do something differently, then this has largely been a waste of time. What can you do differently to engage yourself or others at work so that you achieve all those awesome benefits we went over that help with employee engagement? The basic recipe here, I believe, and other experts believe, is measure employee engagement, discuss what you get in the data, act on what you get, and repeat that cycle. Really great way to disengage people, by the way, is to do a really thorough engagement survey and then not talk about it and don't do anything about it, and then measure again. That tells people you really don't care. You just want to get some numbers. If you really want to show them you care, then measure employee engagement. There are lots of companies who would love to help you. You don't need those companies if you're a small startup. You just ask people, how engaged are you? How much do you feel like you're willing to give us your all, etc.? I can help you with specific questions if you need them, and some of those recommended reading resources that I put in the handout will help you as well. Measure however you can. Discuss what you learn, act on what you learn, measure again, and you are well on the way to continuous improvement on employee engagement. I want you to engage your employees by working together to mind the gaps: goals, alignment, progress, growth, appreciation, and people. The problem I was focused on in this keynote is that disengaged employees make your hard work harder. Solid data and experience tell us why and how to engage employees. If you want to learn more, these are great places to start, and there's more on my full recommended reading list on my site, happybrainscience.com. What does all that science and data tell us? That engaged employees give their best happily. And a really great way to start earning more engagement at work is to work together to mind the gaps: goals, alignment, progress, growth, appreciation, people. Thank you so much for your time and engagement.